I'm okay with either of us driving, but I think if you drive, I'm happy to park my car at your place and drive to and from it before and after. But if I drive, I think it's reasonable for you to get to and from my house and for us to leave from here. Those are my thoughts.
Of course.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I completely agree. Let me talk to Caroline and see what her feelings are about not having the car. But it's like really out of the way going to Buffalo to come up here to get me. I wouldn't expect you to do that.
I feel like we've had that conversation before, so I just, it was on my mind again.
It was probably for going somewhere else. Hello, De Niro Nation, and welcome to Our Hero De Niro, the only podcast watching and recapping Robert De Niro's entire filmography in random order. I'm Mike, joined as ever by my co-host, Mike.
No relation.
And today, we are going back into the sea. It's our special Shark Week episode, everyone. And this year... You laugh as soon as I start the bit.
Yeah, man, the way you're communicating, it's very funny to me, and I just can't wait to hear you explain why we're doing this.
I'm ready to explain it. So this is our special Shark Week episode. Last year, careful listeners may recall, and even those who don't can go back and experience it live and in person yourself, the debacle that was our Shark Tale episode. We rolled Shark Tale, and I call this our Shark Week episode because we only realized in retrospect how strangely fortunate we'd been to roll Shark Tale such that the original Shark Tale episode was released really very surprisingly close to Shark Week, which is right around now. I think it was maybe last week when this episode is being released. And I did a really bad job with the Shark Tale recap. I didn't take very good notes during the movie, and I didn't pay very close attention. And so it was a really bad mix of poor note taking and also poor recall, because I certainly have done, I think, good recaps where I haven't taken very many notes, but it's been when I was really locked in and engaging with the substance of the film that I was watching. And it was tough, because Shark Tale is a favorite film of former and now again friend of the pod, Zoe, who had been eagerly anticipating for months our watching Shark Tale, and she was really sorely disappointed by by my performance.
Yeah, Shark Tale, one of our infamous episodes, episode 31 in our backlog, and I encourage everyone to go back and listen to it. It's entertaining. It's not a great recap.
I don't.
Oh,
yeah.
You can really hear my frustration. And I think it's a lesson that we've learned between your Shark Tale recap and my Angel Heart recap is that the person leading the episode needs to take some notes. It's very important.
And watch the movie, because similar to my experience with Shark Tale, you also were not paying close enough attention to Angel Heart when you watched it.
Well, right.
You probably could have gotten away. Like, if you hadn't also been cleaning your office, you probably could have gotten away with bad note taking, but it's a bad combo, inattention and poor note taking.
Yeah, but the Shark Tale episode's pretty quick, and you can hear me become very frustrated with Mike. And if you want to hear Mike become frustrated with me, you can always listen to our The War with Grandpa episode, which is a stone cold classic in our later backlog.
Oh, yeah, that one's really funny. I agree. So, in any event, both to pay homage to poor, long-suffering Zoe, who has had to go an entire now year and a half listening to this podcast without a good shark-themed episode, as well as to do some form of penance, we are recording this, our second annual unofficial Shark Week episode. And this week, we will be discussing the modern classic, quote-unquote, bad film, 2017's Land Shark. Directed and written by Mark Polonia and starring Sarah French, Peter Baldo, and a bunch of other people you've never heard of, which is a pretty good bad movie as it comes, and was strongly recommended by Zoe.
In honor of Shark Week, and this being our Shark Week Spectacular, I am ready not only with my own thoughts about this total schlockfest Land Shark, but I came prepared with some shark facts of my own.
Oh, that's great. I love that. I think we should just get right into it.
Yeah. Do you want to say anything about the director or what this film is or any context about it?
I suppose. I don't really know what there is to say. I mean, so it was written and directed by this guy, Mark Polonia, as I said. I don't know. He's got some other cult favorites, I think, that he's directed, like Splatter Farm, that I've never seen. I used to watch a lot of bad movies like this. Did you ever watch bad movies? Was that something you ever did?
No, because this is like true bad movie schlock kind of stuff. This is the domain of Red Letter Media and their Best of the Worst series, which is basically all they do on their channel at this point. I've never had a strong interest in schlock. I've only watched a few movies of this type, and I have a whole philosophy around this type of movie, which I guess I'll probably get into in my final rating and discussion of this film. But no, I don't really see the appeal of this type of film, unless it's like a very rare one-off group bad movie night kind of experience.
Yeah, I think the only way to watch something like this is in a group. I agree. I mean, I'm not trying to cast aspersions on anyone who may write in and reveal that they do watch films like this alone, but I think that's odd. When I was, I think probably like late high school through college and maybe like slightly post finishing college, I would shop at the Tops near my parents' house, and they used to have. Do you remember this? Because Mike and I grew up in the same town, so we shopped at the same grocery store growing up. When you and me were kids, there was a little DVD stand that was near where the self checkout is in that store now, and it was just one of those tall, skinny ones that spins, and each of the four sides only had one DVD case width, and so you could just spin it and see all the DVDs, and they were just like $3 to $7, and most of them were quite bad. You remember this?
I remember it, but I never bought any films from that
so
rack.
I bought things. I bought things from that. Yep. And my sister and I used to like to watch bad movies together. And I had some other friends in high school and college who I would watch bad movies with. And so I've seen quite a few films like this. Some that have a kind of self-awareness to them, and some that I think have less self-awareness to them. It'll be interesting to discuss throughout this recap whether we think this is one where the creative folks have an ironic sort of self-deprecating self-awareness to the project that they're doing. I was kind of torn throughout the watch, honestly, about that. But I don't know. We're kind of dancing around this here. The point is, this is an exceptionally low budget, schlocky, bad film, as it were. It's got to be one of the lowest rated films on IMDb. I didn't look at where it ranks, but it's got a 2.3 out of 10, which is an exceptionally low score on IMDb. And a lot of these movies, is one of the nice things about them, are blessedly short. So this film is only 80 minutes long. It's pretty breezy. Mike and I watched it together the other day with wife of the pod, friend of the pod, Caroline, aka Bad Cree. And I think she gave it a pretty crazy score on Letterboxd, didn't she? I think she gave it like 1.5 stars.
We're not at that part of the podcast yet, so you don't even need to bring it up.
It's all just information, man.
Yeah, okay. It's an interesting way to structure it.
I don't think that there's any relationship between my performance in the Shark Tale episode and whether I mention someone with whom we watched the film's thoughts on the film at the beginning or the end of the discussion. I think those things have absolutely no relationship to one another.
I guess, man. I just think that when you have been doing a podcast for 79 episodes and there is a dedicated section in every episode to discussing ratings of the film, then maybe you save that for that part of the podcast.
I don't share your commitment to that structure.
And that is why you are doing this humiliation ritual.
I want to make it very clear so everyone understands. I want to make sure that you and everybody understands. I feel no embarrassment or humiliation about this at all. That is not an emotion that I feel when I think about the Shark Tale episode, nor that I am feeling as I have this conversation. So the film opens, and it's on like a commerce or restaurant district. It looks like on maybe a boardwalk. It's kind of unclear exactly what we're looking at the beginning, but there are some carnival rides like you would expect there to be on a boardwalk, and we get a lot of very close in kind of claustrophobic shots of some of the rides running, especially a Ferris wheel. We shift to some underwater footage. It kind of seems to be from maybe the vantage point of a shark, some rolling ominous waves, and we see a lady walking and then sunning on the beach, and she is taken by the shark, which I think those who read the title of the film might foresee as perhaps being a land shark.
Yeah. How are you feeling right at the beginning of the film after seeing this initial, of course, this sort of creature feature, you have to have the initial attack. How did you feel at this point, just seeing what we were in for?
I don't know. I mean, I guess I will say, like, I didn't really feel anything while I watched this. I think because it was exactly the way I expected it to be. So I think I was just feeling like it was completely consistent with my expectations. I mean, I read the IMDb snippet about this before we watched it. And as I said, I've seen probably 15 or 20 of this kind of film before. So I kind of knew what it was going to be like. What about you?
Yeah, I never watched this type of movie. Like I've seen The Room or whatever, but I've seen enough clips of them through episodes of Best of the Worst on Red Letter Media's YouTube channel to have an idea for what this sort of movie is like. But I was willing to go along with it in the very beginning because I thought, okay, this is ultra low budget filmmaking, and I don't know anything about this particular filmmaker, Mark Polonia. I shouldn't discount it just because it's cheap. Just because it's low budget doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. But from the very beginning, I mean, the title, the very premise, Land Shark, it creates a lot of problems script-wise. And I do wonder just right off the bat why you would even choose to tackle this as a subject for a film, a shark that can go on land, when you don't have the budget.
I think that sometimes these kinds of films get made, and I imagine that this was one of those cases. This is my headcanon. I didn't look into this. But, eventually we'll see the shark. And the shark is like a paper mache, like art project, essentially. I think they had the shark, man. I think that's why they did it.
I think they did it because they had a shark.
Right. That is my explanation to myself. I think that's often the case with these kinds of things, is like that's just what they had. And like the shark was made of paper mache, so they couldn't put it in the water. And so the way they could use this thing that they had access to make a movie was to make it a land shark.
Yeah, one thing I noticed when I was doing research for this film after watching it was that Mark Polonia has done a lot of shark-related films. So I think he seems to care about this sort of material. In addition to Land Shark, other shark-related films he's directed are Sharkenstein, Shark Encounters of the Third Kind, Virus Shark, Noah's Shark, Doll Shark, Sharkula, and Cocaine Shark. So he clearly, well, I don't know, likes sharks or cares about them, or maybe he really hates them and wants us to really fear them the way that Jaws made an entire generation of the movie-going public fear great white sharks.
I think that it could be something totally different and just be pure, unvarnished commercialism. Like this film, Land Shark, is a cult classic. And if you're Mark Polonia, I think that doing something like this, making films like this, you could probably make a decent living for yourself, I would think. Like you could probably pull in $60, $70, maybe $80,000 a year if you were really judicious about it. You shit out one or two of these things a year. You run them on shoestring budgets, like $5 or $10 a picture. Like, how did we watch this film? It was on YouTube. But if it hadn't been on YouTube, I would have bought the DVD, and like that would have been like one $10 DVD sale. Like you make a few hundred of those sales a year on each of your shitty movies that you've made. So it could honestly just be that sharks became what he was known for. And that's the way he can make his his middle class living, making these silly little movies.
Yeah, there are enough people subscribed to his mailing list. So whenever he's like, oh, I have a new shark film coming out in 2 months, Yep. Go pre-order it now. Yeah, makes sense.
You want to share a shark fact while we're already in a little bit of a lull here?
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy this one right off the bat. Turns out there are actual walking sharks. The epaulet shark can use its pectoral and pelvic fins to drag itself across coral and sand between tidal pools. So the idea of a land shark is not entirely fake. The difference is that the real one is small, weird, and evolutionarily impressive, and not a 20-foot field demon.
Yeah, I was going to say tide pools are generally quite shallow. So if we're talking about an animal that lives and moves between tide pools, I think it would have to be quite tiny. That's cool, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so we get the opening crawl, and initially we see the credits, all the creative folks involved with the film, and that's in just plain Arial font.
It looked like Microsoft Word art.
Oh yeah. It's just like Microsoft Word art using the default Arial font, like the one that Microsoft assigns right out of the package when you open the Word art module. And then we get a really bold, audacious, obnoxious non-Arial font for the Land Shark title, and then we switch back to Arial, but it's bold now for the cast info. And I thought those font choices were really interesting in the opening credits.
Yeah, I guess I'll just have to save some of my grander thoughts about this film for later on when I get to my final ratings. There are just so many questions that the presentation of this film raises to me as someone who's not as well versed in this sort of schlock genre. I mean, the credits look like Microsoft Word art. The music sounds like it was rendered on a Nintendo 64. And it's just, I don't know. I guess you're right that he probably just shits these things out super cheaply and quickly. But like you would think that after making, and he's made dozens of films over the years, dozens and dozens, that like you'd get better at some of this stuff over time, you know?
I think you're playing to your audience, though, to a certain extent. Like, friend of the pod, Zoe, recommended this to us. It's not like she doesn't know it's a bad movie, man. Like the audience who watches stuff like this, like they don't watch it thinking they're watching fucking Jaws. They know it's bad. Like that's part of the appeal. And so I think you probably keep that act up because that's part of what the audience, you're catering to wants. We are not that audience, man.
No,
like those are not the kind of films that we watch.
We're high-minded aesthetes. Actually, you want to know something crazy? Watching Land Shark is what finally pushed me over the edge to get me to watch Jaws. I finally watched Jaws because of this film. I know. Yeah.
I saw that you watched it. I thought that was really funny. It made me chuckle to myself. It's like, this is so funny to watch like the worst shark movie you could possibly watch and be like, well, shit, I've never seen the best one. I should probably check that out.
It takes a bold filmmaker like Mark Polonia to know that Jaws exists, like just the most masterful execution of this sort of film. And like, honestly, sort of like the genesis of summer blockbuster filmmaking.
So cool.
Yeah. And then go, I'm going to do that, but on like a $10,000 budget.
The title crawl ends and we cut to some folks on a boat. The captain of the boat is looking over the helm into the darkness of night and says to his, I guess, probably first mate, some kind of skipper standing next to him, lend me a hand, lad. Let's see what the ocean has given us this evening. And the line is delivered really, really poorly. So the first line kind of gives us our indication of what the general acting caliber is going to be here. Like this is like a 2 out of 10, 3 out of 10 line delivery.
I literally wrote in my notes, are these actors?
You and me could do better with no practice, guaranteed. You tell me the line now, I'll say it better.
Well, because here's another question. Is this a failure? Is this due to lack of acting talent, or is this a failure of direction? Or probably maybe both,
I mean, I think the failure, again, right? I think that in a lot of sort of sub-components of the broader product and analysis of the product, it's not a failure, right? Because remember, it's not for us. It's for people who like this kind of thing. But if you want to talk about why the acting is bad, I think you can look all up and down the production chain, man. Like, this guy delivering this line is probably not a great actor. I'm guessing Mark Polonia is not a particularly talented director.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that all the way up through the production pipeline, I can't imagine the recruiting and casting was very good. I cannot imagine that the project is being managed very effectively. Like, I think it's systemic failure all the way up the chain that creates a product like this. And then I think, to my earlier comment, the reason why it doesn't get better is because it works. Like, you're selling a product to an audience that exists and is underserved by traditional products. If you are, so you think about this like from a product market fit perspective, like a product management perspective, if you're someone running a program like this, you're making this kind of movie and it's making money, yeah, you could make it like a little bit better, but you run a pretty big risk of making it good enough such that it alienates your core audience and then is no longer interesting to those people who have been giving you money. And Mark Polonia, I'm sure, is not a stupid person. You're Mark Polonia, there's no fucking way you're making it good enough that people who like good things are going to like it. So you play down there. You're disincentivized from getting better. Like it's like this kind of recursive like Ouroboros that feeds on itself from a business perspective. It's fascinating.
Yeah, so you don't think he's making the actors do 50 takes the way that David Fincher does?
No, I don't think so. I don't think they have the time for it, man. Like, really think that's what I mean. Like, think about on a shoestring budget, just think about how much time and resources they have available for how many takes. Like, this is an 80-minute long movie. How long do you think they shot to make these 80 minutes? 30 hours, 40 hours? They probably did this in like a work week.
Yeah.
There isn't the time to do that many takes. They just know they're going to use the first thing for most of what they do.
Yeah, makes sense.
I don't know. A lot of this is just hypothesizing on my part, but I think the hypotheses are relatively sound because people watch these movies. We get a bunch more poor line delivery and some really bad cinematography. Let's take a moment to talk about the cinematography in this film. You see this in a lot of these kinds of films, especially the creature features. You get this cinematography that I think is a combination of poor hardware. They're not shooting these films with good cameras, low skill on the part of the folks doing the photography itself, and then some technical constraints, right? So in this case, with a creature feature like this, they know that they cannot reveal the creature early, and that the special effects quality of the creature itself is so poor that even once they do reveal it, they can't really show it very much without breaking the illusion beyond where they want to break it. And so we get a lot of shots that they're framed in a very strange and disorienting way, but not in a way that has artistry to it, because you can just tell they're shooting very close up on subjects and using these strange smash cuts rather than like panning shots or something like that, because they have to constrain the visibility of the image to stop you from seeing stuff they don't want you to see.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. And in the beginning, for a while, I think I was kind of intellectually fascinated by this. Just how do you produce a movie like this on no budget? How do you do Jaws with a Jaws-esque movie with no money? And I think that's a really interesting question, because limitations can breed innovation. And that's really interesting. Yep. So, you do the first person shark views and things like that, but this movie still shits the bed in that respect, because there are so many first person shark views, like views from the shark's perspective, where for whatever reason the camera is pointed down at the ground as the shark like moves along the land. And I was just thinking to myself, sharks' eyes aren't underneath underneath their heads. Like, this doesn't make any fucking sense.
It's not possible to represent a shark's vision with this kind of cinematography, because sharks' eyes are on the sides of their head, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it would actually be two separate images. It doesn't, it's not like human vision.
Yeah, it's certainly not dynamic cinematography. And you're right that it looks cheap because it is cheap. There's not much in the way of color grading or interesting camera movement. There are things, I mean, and this all supports your hypothesis that like, this is the business model. We're making a product. The product is schlock, is bad movie. And to that point, sure, this all works, but on its own, just evaluating it like as a film, as art, there are things that I feel that they could still do with no budget, but just chose not to do, or it's either like chose not to do or are so inept that they declined to do or weren't capable of doing. But you could have more interesting camera angles. You could, I don't know, whatever. I don't know why I'm getting all worked up about 2017's Land Shark.
I'm really surprised, honestly. I think it's a very funny dynamic for us to have.
I'm glad you're having fun.
I am having fun. So as I mentioned, before we got into this aside, we get another shot to your comment just now from the vantage point of the shark. And it appears that the captain has been eaten by the shark. Although it's never clear what's happening in any of these shots. Right. You just have to kind of guess that your impression is correct.
You just kind of hear someone scream for a few seconds. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We cut to a lab, a scientific laboratory, and we see a dumpy guy. This is one of probably our two main characters in the film. His name is Dr. Foster. He's wearing a really weird, shitty shirt, and he's watching some hot blonde ladies doing science. One of the lady scientists is looking at a shark in a tank and reading some papers and typing on a keyboard. We see her look at two superimposed, shaded line graphs, I guess, with nothing on the axes, no explanation of what she's looking at or anything like that. And she says, something doesn't seem right here. We cut to a shark. This is our first clear shot of a shark in the film. It's just kind of floating in a tank in the middle of the lab. And it looks just so unbelievably fake. It's hard to even describe how fake it looks.
Yeah. They must have highly realistic shark models available for free for Blender 3D or whatever.
Dr. Foster comes in and argues with the science lady over whether sharks are leaving the facility. So I guess something about those two lines that she saw was her seeing that they had a certain number of sharks and then fewer sharks and then the certain number of sharks again that they expected. So she hypothesizes that sharks are leaving the facility and returning, and Dr. Foster insists that that isn't possible. Dr. Foster goes back to his office. I really enjoyed this. I just wanted to remark upon it. It seems quite clear to me that this scene is supposed to be taking place during the day, like everybody's at work. But in Dr. Foster's office, we can see the window behind him, and it's obvious that the scene is being shot at night. I really enjoyed that. So this must have just been an office that they could have gotten access to at night, and they weren't allowed to use it during the day.
They just broke in.
Yeah, it's like his dad's like workplace or something, and his dad got his boss to say that he could come film in the office for 2 hours in the evening, just something like that.
Yeah. Just make sure you lock the door on the way out. Yeah, sure.
He gets a video call, and it's the CEO of the research firm that he works for, and she gives some expository dialogue that reveals that they're former lovers. And Dr. Foster tells her in a way that makes it clear that he was lying to Science Lady when he told her that he didn't think the sharks were leaving the facility, that sharks are leaving the facility and then returning. And so the project has successfully bioengineered sharks who have the ability to walk on land.
Okay, hold on. A couple of things here. One, I would love to highlight the performance of this CEO lady. We only ever see her through the shitty mid 2000s Dell 4:3 aspect ratio monitor that that Dr. Foster talks to her.
It's the same laptop they rendered these 3D graphics on, man.
She looks like a talking head in a Command and Conquer video game. If you remember those.
Yeah.
And her face. Listen, I will give credit to the two leads and to the CEO lady. I do think they're trying.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
So I respect the effort that they were clearly putting into their performances. But this lady, I do genuinely wonder, like, is she a real actor? She's like hyper expressive. Her eyebrows are doing crazy things. And she was speaking in such a stilted, matter-of-fact way. It was very bizarre. It was really jarring. Yeah. The way she was communicating with her seeming former lover,
underling.
Yeah. It did not sound like that sort of history existed between the two characters.
Yes. It's definitely the most striking, like the woodenness of their performances in that moment, because he's making what is in effect an emotional appeal to her, and she's rebuffing it. But the way she does it is so strange. Even the way he does it is so strange. I mean, they're just not very good actors, but I do think they're trying.
Yeah, at least the guy who plays Dr. Foster is a little more naturalistic in his acting. Yep. And you called him dumpy at the beginning of the film. I think a lot of that just has to do with the way this is shot and presented to us. I bet if you saw him, if you passed him at Eastview Mall and he was wearing a normal, well-fitted shirt,
a normal shirt.
Yeah, you'd be like, yeah, okay, just like a normal guy. You wouldn't even think twice. You'd be like, yeah, he doesn't look bad.
You're right.
But in this film, I think the quality, the low overall quality of the presentation of this film makes us look at everything within it more negatively than we might, as a separate component.
And he's wearing a really strange shirt. So the shirt looks like it's made of the material that bird dogs polos are made of. If you know this material, this kind of tech fabric, stain repellent, whatever. So it's made of that material, but it has full buttons all the way up and down with a normal placard of a dress shirt, essentially, and it has a normal dress shirt collar, but then the sleeves are the ends of an athletic quarter zip made of that bird dogs material. No cuffs at the end of the sleeves. It looks like they're the sleeves of a pullover on a button up made of tech material. It's a very funny shirt, and it's too big on him.
Listen, all we have is this size XL, so you're just gonna have to wear this during the shoot.
This is what it's gonna be. What do you mean? You're between a medium and a large? Nope, XL is what it is. That's what my dad gave me from his closet when he told me that I could go use his office to film for 2 hours tonight.
That's right.
So before they hang up, the CEO insists that Dr. Foster needs to keep her informed. But after they hang up, we get some expository monologue from him, making it clear that he is not going to keep her informed. We cut to a shot of a maintenance worker. He's wearing a hard hat and doing some maintenance, pushing a button on some console or something. The land shark is there in the room with him. Somehow he doesn't see it, even though the shark's vantage point suggests to us that he's maybe 36 inches from the maintenance worker, and he's eaten by the shark. We cut to another couple. Here's something I'll just say about this film, and we can certainly talk about this more during our final thoughts. I'm kind of re-experiencing as I read through my notes right now. There's a lot of characters in this film. Like, a lot of people get introduced for 90 seconds of screen time, and it just doesn't feel like a very efficient way to tell this story. Did you notice this?
Which character are you thinking of? Like, what's an example?
Well,
I'm
just thinking about the couple with the Toyota Prius who are shooting the OnlyFans video on the point and shoot out in the parking lot. It's what about them? What's the point of the homeless person from later? It's they just keep introducing all of these people. And it's I feel like we don't need this many people to be victimized by the shark in an 80-minute film.
Yeah, I think this is a wonderful time for me to compare Land Shark to Jaws.
Oh, please do. Yeah, yep.
Having I watched Jaws literally the next day after Land Shark, and I think it's trying to do a Jaws-esque thing, because in Jaws, it makes sense that so many people are victimized or terrorized by the shark because everything is contained to Amity Island. So that makes sense. You feel like it's one single community being terrorized by the shark. Whereas here, this film was shot in and around, LA, Southern California. I think this incident with the couple in the Prius happens, I think it's shot around the Vasquez Rocks, but they all feel so separate from each other, and we don't have a very good sense of the geography and the space. So it doesn't feel like, Los Angeles County is being, ravaged by this weaponized land shark that's escaped containment. It just feels like random people going about their day doing totally disparate things. And then they just happen to be surprised by a 20-foot long shark that, hey, FYI, one of the many issues with introducing a shark as a land-based predator is I think their camouflage doesn't work that well in the desert of Southern California as it does in the fucking ocean.
Yeah, I agree. And it doesn't have the coloring of a shark. So it wouldn't be camouflaged even in the water. We'll see the shark. The shark has some strange, bright coloring to it. Yeah, we'll talk more about the shark when we get to it. The other thing that I'll say that I found really disorienting about kind of what you just described as the, I would say, geologic and ecological diversity of some of the areas where we see, not conveying a sense that this is some cohesive small area that's being terrorized. The Prius had Illinois plates. And that really threw me off. I was like, oh, are we in Illinois now? Because it doesn't look like we're anywhere near the water. What's going on? How did the shark get to Illinois? That's a very far state from California.
That's funny. I noticed that, and I kind of forgot until you mentioned it. Yeah, it's very bad at creating a sense of space. We're in a particular place in time. And I don't know, if wouldn't you spot that shark from 20 feet out because you're in the fucking desert and there's no shrubbery to hide it?
Not if you were Mark Polonia.
Oh my God, that shark is moving. Get back in the Prius. Get back in our Illinois Prius. Turn around.
Let's go back to Illinois.
Yeah.
I'm going back to Peoria.
Oh yeah, there are no land-based sharks in Illinois. Great state.
So as I mentioned during our previous aside, they're there in the parking lot taking some vaguely sexual photographs, the man of the woman, using a point and shoot. And they're pretty funny photographs because he's taking a ton of them, but she's just doing 3 poses. And so he's just taking these repeated photographs of her doing one of these 3 poses. It all seems very silly. And there's some very bad, cheap sounding, sultry music playing over this scene while it's happening. But here comes the shark. We see the shark's vantage point, kind of approach the people, and he gets the guy photographer. The woman whom he was photographing finds his body, just looks a little startled, and then runs, pursued by the shark, and gets killed in a very bloody fashion.
Yeah, I couldn't help but notice that. And again, this is the sort of thing that I think you could do reasonably well, even without a budget. You have the camera, you're shooting, but this lady runs from the shark. Imagine the scenario. Let's get into the head. Let's get inside the mind of this character. She sees a giant land-based shark that is somehow able to pursue and attack her, like, wouldn't you turn and just like book it? Wouldn't you just run as fast as you fucking can to try to escape this thing?
So, I mean, characters doing things that are nonsensical are, I think, a trope in horror film in general, right? Usually it's just not quite as silly as this, but characters acting in a way that makes no sense. Like the fact that the lady here looks like just a little startled when she finds her boyfriend brutally murdered by a shark. The fact that she runs slowly after waiting for a while, like this sort of ineffectual nature by which the characters like try to protect themselves against the creature is it's a trope of this subgenre of horror. So like, yeah, it's annoying, but like it happens all the time.
Yeah, is that an excuse? Is that just part of this hypothesis, this grand hypothesis that everything bad is on purpose and good because it's bad because that's what the schlock viewing public wants? Because this lady,
I don't think that it has to be purposeful. Things happen and then continue to happen again. Like, what's the right way? This is like a grand observation about human psychology that I'm trying to make here. When a person, or especially a group of people, does a complex thing in a way that has a set of qualities and sub-qualities, they can do something by accident that is bad, not have intended to do it that way, and then repeat that error over and over again, even if it's not intended, if their motivation to be perfect is low, because they're only going to choose to optimize the things that they received signals from their interlocutors about. So I don't think that a lot of this stuff has to be intentional. I think that in this kind of subgenre that is catering to a very specific, very idiosyncratic customer base, like I think these kinds of idiosyncrasies, they can just develop organically because it's low effort. And when there's only low effort, the margin effort that is available is going to be directed toward the small number of things that they received signals needed to be corrected. And I doubt this is one of those things. So like, I'm not saying like Mark Polonia, like he told the actors to act this way. I just mean like he was focused on other shit because there's only one Mark Polonia and he's only got 3.5 days to shoot this film. So
yeah, I don't know. I think if you're Mark Polonia directing that scene in the Vasquez Rocks parking lot, that you tell the lady, okay, now imagine a shark is pursuing you and you start running. She's barely above a power walk. I was trying to estimate her speeds, and I'm a bit of a runner myself these days. I put her speed around 4.5 miles per hour. That's an extremely light jog. Like that is conversational pace. Slow. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's a weird choice is all I'm saying. It's a weird choice that I think critically, for me at least, and I don't want to sound like I'm super down on this type of film, like I'm incapable of enjoying it when I'm watching. Like I watched it. Shut the hell up. You seem
like you're loving it.
Shut the fuck up. I watched it with you and friend of the pod, wife of the pod, Caroline, and so I watched it, I think, under pretty ideal circumstances. I think you can make these sorts of schlocky, lazy decisions, but still have entertaining moments in the film. I think one of the reasons why I'm scrutinizing this so much is because, like, the lady slowly jogging away from the shark, like, I don't think that adds to the comedy of the scene or the film. It's just, it's lazy and inept, but it's not funny, you know?
Yeah, I don't think it's meant to be.
Yeah? What is it meant to be?
I'm trying to understand. Like, do you understand the point that I'm making? I'm not sure if you do.
What's the point you're making?
Just that, like, these things, they just happen. Yeah. They happen organically. This is like organizational psychology, like the way these kinds of like repeated mechanisms within organizations and programs and projects develop. We just like think about the pipeline and the mechanics by which this could occur. Mark Polonia is out with this actress in the desert. She's not a very good actress. And Mark Polonia knows he's only got an hour to get this shot, you know? And so like they're going to do the few takes and he has his specific things that he is optimizing for, but he's also not a very good director, because if he was a very good director, he would be doing something that paid more money. He would be making more marketable, more profitable projects with his directorial skill. And so he's going to tell her, kind of like you said, do this thing. He's not going to give her like very effective direction, and she's not a very good actress. So even if she was given very good directing, she probably wouldn't do as good a job with it as you would expect her to. And they're going to do a few takes, and the thing that you are identifying is just not one of the things that he's going to do another take to correct for, because he's not trying to make it good.
I understand production-wise how this could happen. You're right. Like limited time, limited budget, limited time with the actress, limited time at the Vasquez Rocks parking lot before other people start visiting because it's a landmark featured in many Star Trek episodes. No time to review the dailies and reshoot on another date. Like, I understand how it could all happen. It's so hard for me to empathize with the filmmaker who would watch that happen in real time, the 5 seconds of the actress slowly jogging, and go, okay, we got it. Let's drive back to the next location for shooting. I don't know. Like, there's such a fundamental disconnect here.
It says you're like a hyper type A perfectionist. You could never do something like this.
I know. We're like the Frasier and Niles of the podcasting world.
Yeah, I just accept it. It just is.
Yeah.
Like I just like, I don't know. It just is what it is. What are you gonna do? That's not the movie I would make. I'm not saying that I think that it's good. I'm just saying that like it is the way people behave. So I accept it.
Yeah, honestly, I thought about this too a little bit. This is actually an interesting aside. You're right. Like I could never be Mark Polonia because I think to myself, if I ever wanted to make a film of some sort and I had a limited budget, I think I would go the short film route because you'd be able to do so much more with your $10,000. Exactly.
Like, right. Yeah.
And obviously, I recently went to the Rochester International Film Festival, which is a collection of short films from all around the globe, and watched 8 short films. And I don't really like them that much overall, because I think a lot of them are pretty cutesy in a way that kind of annoys the shit out of me. Like oh my God, it's fucking ridiculous. I watched 8 short films. I watched 8 short films by competent filmmakers over the course of that weekend, the film festival, and not one, but 2 ended with characters dancing as the credits ran over them, and like, get the fuck out of here. Like, oh, I hate that shit so much. But like, yeah, I would go for the short film format.
You wouldn't end it with a montage of characters dancing?
No, man. I would rather strap C4 to myself and turn myself into soup.
I don't think that strapping C4 to yourself would be a terrible way to die, honestly. It's so interesting. You could never know, right? There's no way to know. But I wonder what it would feel like. Like, what would the experience of your consciousness blinking out of reality be if the nature of your death was to be literally turned to dust? Like in a fraction of an instant, your brain is blown into 100 separate subcomponents. Like, I'd wonder what that would feel like. I bet you it would be fine compared to other ways to die.
Well, it's so quick. Yeah, I mean, honestly.
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, yep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. When you're older in life and infirm and bedridden and not mobile, like maybe just buy some C4 and just go out with a bang.
Yeah, it makes me think about all this debating that we're doing in modern Western society about capital punishment. Less about its morality and whether it should be allowed, and more about its methods. Like they're discovering more and more that they're doing these lethal injections that were thought to be more humane than the electric chair, which was thought to be more humane than a firing squad. But discovering that some of these folks who are being killed as part of these processes are experiencing unimaginable suffering in the minutes before their death due to the way some of these drugs work. And I think that a lot of people, it's like that meme, right? With like the really dumb guy at one end of the intelligence distribution and the really smart guy at the other end, and then the normal guy up at the top. Like, I feel like the normal guy in this situation is looking at this and being like, seems like the firing squad was fine. That seems like it would be fine. And like to that point, I honestly think that if we want to find a really humane way to kill people, I think you just put them in some 3 foot thick like stone container and strap C4 to them and blow them up. You'd be fucking dead in a wink. You would experience nothing.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, I refuse to believe that the United States of America, with our military industrial complex, can come up with a quick, cheap, and humane way to execute prisoners if we're just going to have capital punishment.
Right, we're going to do it. Like, right. Yeah. Yep. The drugs seem crazy to me. It's horrifying, the shit you read about that these people experiencing.
Oh, I totally agree. Can't we just do the No Country for Old Men thing with the cattle gun?
Yeah, cattle gun, or like, why not to that point? And the reason why they don't do it is because there was sensitivity, I think, about who would know whether they'd fired the killing shot, right? The way that firing squads were done mechanically was only a small subset of the folks participating in the firing squad would actually have live rounds in their firearm. So you could have plausible deniability that you were the one who did the killing. But really the best way, honestly, would just be execution style handgun in the back of the head. Like, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
You know, like, and then when they're down, have somebody go over them and shoot them in the head again 6 more times, you know, like they're dead. They didn't experience shit. They were alive for 1 second. But while it was happening, but I think it just seems gross, you know, so we won't do that. It seems inhumane.
Yeah. I really appreciate that within this Shark Week Spectacular that we've managed to solve the capital punishment problem.
I really think that it's really funny how much discussion there has been in this episode. You've gotten so fired up about this film. It's really good. I didn't think that we were going to talk that much. You want to give a shark fact? Before we get back into the recap.
This is a great opportunity for a shark fact. Did you know that some sharks have belly buttons?
No, I didn't. That's interesting. Like the same way we do, meant for what's that called? The cord. Meant for like an umbilical cord type function.
Apparently, certain live-bearing sharks develop with a placental connection similar to an umbilical cord, leaving a temporary scar between the pectoral fins after birth. So, in that sense, shark belly buttons are real.
What's live-bearing? Do you mean live birthing?
Why do you have to fucking question me when I'm spitting shark
What do you mean?
facts?
I don't know what it means. You're sharing the fact. What does that mean? What is
live bearers are fish that retain their eggs inside the body and give birth to live, free-swimming young. The term is live bearers.
Gotcha. Okay. I didn't know the term. I wasn't challenging you. I didn't know the term.
You know, when I don't know something,
I learned something today.
You know what I do? I keep it to myself, and that way it seems like I know everything.
Oh, that's great pod.
Yeah. Not only is it great pod, that's why I failed grad school and I have to retake both years of the education.
You actually understood nothing your professors taught you, but never asked any follow-up questions. You got confused at the end of your first day and you were like, well, shit, this is going to make the next 2 years pretty hard.
Yeah. Every paper that I submitted was just 12 pages of me writing fuck as one really long word.
All right. So we're going back to the lab. They find the dead maintenance man, and Dr. Foster covers him with a net and tells a blonde science lady they have to cover it up. She doesn't want to help him, but he threatens her with some sort of vague career blackmail and takes her into his office, and they have a video call with the CEO. And she reiterates both Dr. Foster's previous threat of some kind of career blackmail, but also that they'll kill her if she tells anyone about the death of the maintenance man. They read her into the land shark experiments. So her being read in serves as complex expository dialogue, I guess. And the long and short of it is essentially that both the U.S. government as well as other world governments are looking for novel ways to do war against one another. And so this lab is trying to bioengineer land sharks for procurement by world militaries.
It's barely worth raising the fundamental issue of this film, which is how the fuck does that make any sense?
Yeah, I really don't think that it is.
Because this is where they explain it. And you're, as a movie viewer, you're really hoping for some sort of explanation that makes sense in this science fictional universe that is being created by the twisted mind of Mark Polonia. But, sharks with laser beams on their heads, that was a joke in Austin Powers. And it works as a joke in a comedy film for 30 seconds. But here, one, they don't have feet or like thumbs. They can't hold things. Two, we already have missiles and torpedoes for land and air and sea engagements. So what value could sharks possibly provide in a military context? I understand making chimpanzees smarter because they're super fucking ripped and give them machine guns and drop them into insurgent zones. But sharks, what are they going to do anywhere?
I think this is a joke.
Yeah?
Yes. I mean, I think that this is yet another trope of this kind of film where the fundamental conceit of the story and its nonsensical nature is part of the joke. And I think that just has to be the explanation.
Okay, whatever.
Well, I mean, I don't know. You don't think that anybody said to him, this doesn't make any sense?
Sure.
He knows.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's funny.
Yeah, I think it's worth saying that at this point in the film, this film is pretty fucking boring.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing has happened.
So it's like a conceptual joke, like, oh, wouldn't it be funny to have a shark on land attacking people? But the execution is so dull. There are many scenes that of just like static shots, people just sort of hanging out, not much happening, quiet dialogue. The soundtrack, honestly, was maybe my favorite thing about this film because it was like this weird droning ambient synthy soundtrack that almost elevated the moodiness of this film. Almost, didn't quite. But again, it wasn't energetic, so it actually didn't help in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you know, we'll talk about this more during my final thoughts, but you don't watch films like this, so I just want to make sure that you know, this is a really bad one. Like, this is like particularly bad for this kind of film. And to your earlier comment, what makes it so bad is how boring it is. Like usually in a film like this, like, yeah, the plot will be nonsense. The acting will be bad. The cinematography will be bad. Like it'll be obviously, you know, have been made on a shoestring budget, but there'll be something electric about it. You know, there'll be something interesting, something happening. And there is like nothing good about this. It's so boring for the whole 80 minutes. This is a really bad one of these movies.
That makes sense. And that is consistent with what I know about this sort of film. Like The Room is a great example. And from what I've seen in like Best of the Worst, I think that the sorts of schlock movies that are the best or the most entertaining watches, I would say are either, you know, two categories. Category A, films like The Room, where it is like misguided egomaniac who thinks he's creating something much grander than he actually is. Like Tommy Wiseau directing, writing, and starring in the film. Like that makes for a really interesting train wreck to watch. Yes. Yep. That's where the entertainment value comes from, is the mismatch between what he's trying to create and what actually ends up existing. I think the other one too are like the ones that they try going much bigger than their budget allows, like scope wise, like trying to do action and stuff like that. And it's like, it becomes a total cheese fest. I can get on board with both of those sorts of films. I think to your point and to your kind of grand hypothesis or thesis about this film is, I think you're right. Like this is a production line like Mark Polonia. He knows he can crank these out. He's not starring in them. He's not an egomaniac. He's found a business model that works.
Right. But he's doing his job.
Right. Unfortunately, the business model is just making like really boring, super short creature features, you know, and that's just sort of it. But that's not inherently entertaining. The idea, the premise, shark on land, is not inherently entertaining. It's what you do with it. And this isn't goofy or over the top enough to justify it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to preview too much about my final thoughts or my recommendation. But I am very aligned with everything that you're saying, and we will talk about more about my thoughts about this when we come to the final sections of the discussion.
Yeah, spoiler alert. This is going to be your second 5.5-star movie after Mean Streets.
Yeah. So we get a scene of Dr. Foster. He is in a bathroom looking in a mirror, very, very concerned. And we get these kind of like smash cut shots interspersed of him seeing a vision of a kind of very scary shark looking man's face in the mirror. And then he awakens. It was actually a nightmare. The next day at the lab, we see him kill a bunch of the sharks for some reason. We don't really understand why he's doing this. And in a call with the CEO, they agree that Dr. Foster needs to find the test subjects that have escaped and kill them. And the CEO tells Dr. Foster that after he does that, he's going to have to kill blonde scientist lady, whom they read into their whole deal in a cryptic way. And he says creepily that it will be his pleasure to kill her. We see blonde scientist lady showering. This character surely has a name. I never learned it. Do you know this character's name? The female lead?
No, I can't say I wrote down the names of any of the characters in this film.
I just know Dr. Foster because they said it all the time. I have no idea what her name is. They probably said it once at like the beginning of the movie. So anyway, blonde scientist lady, we see her showering at home and she hears a noise. It's the shark. But when she opens her shower curtain, she doesn't see it. We cut to a new couple, more new characters, on a date in a pool. They matched on Tinder, and the guy remarks on it in an extremely strange way. He says, like, "I'm so happy we met on Tinder," or something to that effect. It's really schlocky and odd. And they go to take a selfie of them on their date, and they're eaten by the shark, which is in the pool with them now, even though it's a land shark.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things to note in this weird ass scene. Again, this is like, it feels so separate from the narrative because they're just somewhere in Los Angeles County. One, I think it was odd that they were wearing sunglasses in the pool at night. That's just, again, it's like, I don't know.
True. Yep.
If you're Mark Polonia, a human who exists in the world, like, wouldn't you just think like, oh, lose the sunglasses, it's nighttime. But two, after the shark attack, the empty pool floats, did you notice they spell YOLO?
No, I didn't notice that. That's funny.
It's so weird. YOLO was like already not a thing in 2017, right? I think that already like that moment had passed.
Tough to say. We were probably on the very tail end of it. When did YOLO by The Lonely Island come out? When did that song come out? I feel like it was around then.
I don't know, but it became a popular internet slang term in 2012 after the release of Drake's single, The Motto.
Why don't you look up when YOLO by The Lonely Island
Because I didn't give a shit, because I was looking up when YOLO, the term, became popular, not when YOLO, the Lonely Island song, came out.
Anyway, you're right about this. The YOLO Lonely Island song actually came out in 2013. So that was definitely a flash in the pan, and we were years after its ubiquity in this moment. That is funny. I didn't notice, though. So Dr. Foster and blonde scientist lady, they're now out looking for the shark. And our first facet of their exploration we see is them down by the beach, looking for the shark with what they describe as a, quote, state-of-the-art tracker, which you said was an RC car remote, right? You were pretty confident of that.
That's what it looked like to me.
Dr. Foster says it has a range of 20 miles, and blonde lady goes down to the beach to look. She's got the tracker with her, and we get the sense she's getting closer based on the frequency and rhythm of the beeps. It does this like very ostentatious casino slot machine jackpot beep, and she says bingo in one of the worst line deliveries of the film. It's like very strange way to say bingo.
This introduces a really unfortunate new layer to the film, which is that for basically the rest of the film, we just hear this beep. Just the rest of the... It sounds like, like a hospital bed. It's like that sort of beep. It's so annoying. Again, it's like the sort of thing, like when you watch the final cut of the film, don't you think like, fuck, maybe we just like stop.
Very good.
Don't have the beeping. Run through the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the mind of Mark Polonia, man. He's just operating on a whole other level.
Yeah? Would you like another shark fact?
Oh, yeah, I would. Thanks. Yeah, you're right. Let's hear another shark fact, Mike. I was just trying to get my bearings here in my notes.
Did you know that some shark pregnancies last years?
Oh, I didn't. That's interesting. Tell me about it.
Apparently, spiny dogfish pregnancies can last up to 2 years, and NOAA notes that basking sharks and frilled sharks may carry pups even longer. 2 years is longer than this podcast has existed. Imagine being pregnant for that long. That's fucking crazy.
That's a really long pregnancy.
Yeah.
They're driving in Dr. Foster's car, continuing to search, and they see a drunk homeless man in a parking lot. He is lying on a dumpster and wakes up. As Dr. Foster and blonde lady search, Dr. Foster warns blonde lady to be careful because these sharks can, quote, knock people on their asses. And she says that no one has ever knocked her on her ass before, so she doesn't need to worry. They bump into the bum. And he tells them that the land shark went in, quote, that tunnel over there, and points at a tunnel, but they don't believe him for some reason. But then they still go in the tunnel. Doesn't really make any sense. They're like, no, why would you be telling us the truth? But then they go do exactly what he told them to do.
Right. 3 things here. 4 things. 1, you can't say bum, Mike. You have to say unhoused individual.
I know. You want to know how? You don't want to know why it happened?
Why?
It's because I wrote bum in my notes, and the first time I read it, I corrected it to homeless man. But then I was like in my thing, just reading the notes after that, and I forgot to sub it in.
You can't say homeless either, Mike. That's problematic. It's not woke.
Oh, I don't buy into that at all. I don't believe that.
Two, if you are this random homeless person, why would you? Why I was deciding what would be the best one to use.
It made me laugh, so I think you found the best one.
Why would you be hanging around in the middle of the desert? Like, wouldn't it behoove you to be hanging out in a more populated area of commerce
where there's maybe some shade?
Yeah,
some water.
Shade, water, people who could give you money or resources. Like, you're just hanging out in the middle of the fucking desert under the hot sun. Three, it is really funny that Dr. Foster and Blonde Lady, they like the homeless guy literally like mentions a shark on the land, and for some reason they're like, oh, this guy's crazy, he's drunk or whatever. It's like, what are the odds? They're so infinitesimally low that someone would come up with this idea and mention it to two random passersby. But whatever, again, that's just the quality of screenwriting that we get from Mark Polonia. But last but not least,
that's right,
I don't think you're going to mention it. I have to mention it here. What Dr. Foster drives. One of the two leads of this film.
I'm sorry. Yep.
One of the co-leads of the film and its ostensible villain. He drives a black 6th generation BMW 3 Series sedan. And those who follow me on letterboxd.com/MikeBackAtYou will know that I recently introduced a hashtag BMW drivers tag to my profile. And I very sadly, I had to tag this film BMW drivers when I logged it. This film joins that canon. Ronin, The Equalizer 2. Canon. Exactly. Very funny. Again, hey, you know, what someone drives says a lot about them, both in real life and in the movies. That's something we've come back to time and time again in our recurring car talk segment. And I do think it's funny that they have like the asshole lead scientist villain of this film drive a black BMW sedan, much like I do in real life.
Hey, Mike, have you ever driven a BMW 3 Series?
Oh my God, Mike. I used to own a BMW 3 Series, a black BMW 3 Series sedan.
I had no idea.
It was the 5th generation E90, the last generation with hydraulic steering. I loved that car. Great car. Sold it and replaced it with my used BMW 5 Series sedan, also black. It's nice. I like it. I don't think I'm a villain. Yeah, I don't think that's a villain coded car. I think it's just like a classy Autobahn machine. The Autobahn in this case just being our local interstate highways or whatever.
Yeah, listen. Generally, you know, I agree with our you know, your hypothesis that the car driven by a character in a film is just as explanatory about their fictional character as someone's choice of car in real life is explanatory of their personality. But considering the thought and care that appears to have gone into a lot of facets of this film's production, I'm guessing this is just the car the actor who plays Dr. Foster drives, man. Like, I don't think this is like a what just happened type situation where the Porsche like really told us a lot about Robert De Niro's character. Like, I think this is just a car they had available to them that seemed kind of nice.
That's an interesting point to bring up. Is this intentional or was this just a matter of convenience? Because I don't know if I agree. Maybe you're right, because this is like no budget fucking filmmaking where everything is a matter of convenience. But I actually think, whether it's intentional or coincidence, I think Dr. Foster driving the black BMW 3 Series sedan really does suggest some things about his personality that I think are consistent with the characterization of the character.
Oh, sure.
Because he's, you know, how old do you think this guy is? Like early mid 30s?
Yeah, maybe between 35 and 40, I would guess.
Okay, so like, let's say mid 30s.
Not because he looks old, but because he has a PhD and he's a lead researcher at a lab.
Right.
So like, I'm just thinking like you wouldn't do that like right out of, you know, your postdoc or whatever. Like you'd get some experience before you did that.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I, you know, still relatively young.
Right, but he's not an old guy. Yeah.
Right. He's around our age, and I think that the BMW 3 Series sedan, that's one of the lower models in BMW's hierarchy. And I think that driving that car suggests that he wants to project an image of success. I think it's an aspirational vehicle. You know, it's getting you into, because at the time, I think that was the then current generation of that sedan. So it was new. It's an aspirational purchase. It's getting him into that BMW ecosystem. And I think that suggests something about him and sort of his psychology, because you think about like for that amount of money, the $40,000 or whatever that cost new, like, yeah, you could have gotten like a loaded Camry or something, you know, but he went with the more luxury kind of, automaker. So I think that's an interesting choice. And I think there's a certain vanity to that too. Instead of going like, oh yeah, I'm going to get the loaded, like, Camry, like fully decked out with the leather seats and the power moonroof and everything. Instead, I'm going to go for like the lower end BMW. That's a couple grand more. I think that it's not super villainous, but I think it is like someone who is, I think it's consistent with sort of what happens to him later in the film's narrative. I think it's an interesting character choice. I think it does actually tell us a bit about him.
Yes, it doesn't have to be intentional, right? I mean, there are multiple schools of thought in literary criticism, right, about the importance of the author's vantage point when it comes to your read of a work of fiction. I think there are a lot of things about Dr. Foster's character that make him read to us as viewers as kind of like a loser narcissist, and I think certainly, buying a brand new but relatively entry-level luxury sedan does kind of contribute to that general characterization. It doesn't have to have been intentional on the part of Mark Polonia. I just mean like in what just happened, I think it was intentional on the creative folks' part. It's a rich pastiche that we learned about Dr. Foster throughout the film.
That's why Dr. Foster is one of the great characters of cinema.
Oh, it's so true. Yep. So when they exit the bloody tunnel, we finally see the shark for real, and it looks awesome. So let's talk about the shark. This is probably my favorite moment of the film, honestly, was seeing the shark. So the shark is this gigantic paper mache, like it looks like maybe an art project that a college student who was taking a sculpture class but wasn't going to do like a BFA in sculpture, like somebody who was like basically competent at doing this kind of work but wasn't going to make it their job would make. Like, it's pretty good. It's definitely a hell of a lot better than either you or I could do, but it certainly isn't good. Like, you would never see this displayed anywhere or anything like that. And it's huge, and it's not really painted like a shark. It has a lot of like very odd coloring, which I don't know if it was meant to suggest something about the bioengineered nature of this creature, or if it was just, much like the BMW 3 Series that we just discussed, just an accident of what the thing they had available to them to use as this prop looked like when they were making the film. But really fun seeing the shark for the first time. You have anything you want to say about the shark, Mike?
No, I mean, it's I agree with everything you said, and it is fun to imagine that they just like held a contest at a local college, community college or something in the art department, and just said like, hey, whoever can build the best paper mache shark, we're going to feature it in a feature length film. Feature length. Can
you imagine?
Being a strong word for, what is this, like 74 minutes or something?
Yes, like they really needed to get it over that line. Once the shark is revealed, they manage to kill it somehow. It's not really shown how they managed to pull that off, but they do. And they burn its carcass, which is what they need to do to dispose of these things. Blonde Lady observes that the shark was more aggressive toward Dr. Foster, which is our first clue that we get to the kind of ultimate, I would say, very generously, with air quotes, twist of the end of this film.
Yeah, it's not super well forecasted.
No, I called it here though.
Yeah,
I said I thought something else was going to happen that I was wrong about, but I did call the ending. So
well, I hope you'll be fair and balanced in your coverage of this film, and also tell us what you got wrong in your predictions.
I'm going to share it all, but I just wasn't going to give it all away now.
That's fine. No,
right. Like, why would I give away the ending of the film here at this point in the recap?
I agree, man.
We see some news footage of the, by the way, the funniest thing for you have said before I realized, but it was perfectly funny. It made me laugh really hard. It would have been if you'd called him a homeless bum when you said it.
I think either that or if I came up with another term that's even more derogatory than bum.
Yeah. Oh, good. We see some news footage of the homeless man, and the Chiron looks really bad. And there's text on the screen describing him as just an eyewitness while he's being interviewed. And as the eyewitness text kind of scrubs into the frame, it moves just so slow, like unbelievably slow, like 20% the speed that it would if you were watching like even some cheap local news station. Pretty funny. And we see essentially multiple stories on the news about the sharks. We cut to Dr. Foster. He's in the bathroom and he's injecting himself with some kind of drug. It's unclear exactly what it is to us at this moment. And we cut to a new lady. She's waiting down at a train station for her train. The bus that she took to the train was late, so she's missed it. And we see an even more revealing shot of the papier-mâché shark, and it eats train waiting lady. Dr. Foster and Blonde Lady are walking through the woods, and he looks like shit from all the drugs that he's doing. But he angrily and totally unconvincingly insists he's just tired and didn't sleep well. I noticed a really strange thing that happened here with the music. Did you notice this? The first couple of little notes on the piano from Bring Me to Life by Evanescence plays here. And so I was like, man, is Bring Me to Life by Evanescence about to start? But it just plays those few notes a couple times and then nothing else from the song happens. I thought that was a really interesting choice. It was like the exact same sound of the first like second and a half of that song.
No, I cannot say I noticed that. That's the sort of shit you pick up on when you watch movies.
I took a lot of notes on this film. I took 21 paragraphs of notes during this film. So this was a pretty detailed one. I took this really seriously. I didn't want to repeat of Shark Week last year, you know?
I mean, it's going great so far. I'm feeling great about it.
I'm feeling really good about it. I agree.
How about another shark fact?
Oh, yeah, please. Go ahead. Yep.
Hey, Mike, did you know? Did you know that Greenland sharks may live for around 400 years?
What? Get the fuck out of here. That one's crazy.
Yeah,
400 years?
Take it up with Smithsonian Magazine, not me. Apparently, they're considered the longest living vertebrates on Earth, and some estimates put them at roughly 4 centuries old. A Greenland shark alive today could theoretically predate the American Revolution by a lot.
Oh, yeah, I believe you. That's just, that's crazy. I didn't know that there were creatures still alive that could live that long. I know there were prehistoric creatures, I think, that had that kind of long lifespan. That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, nature's fucking weird like that, you know?
It really is. Yeah, that's crazy. They have this really strange discussion after the Bring Me to Life piano sting plays, where Blonde Lady talks about how bad Dr. Foster is for working at the evil shark bioengineering lab. But then it almost felt like maybe this was an ad-libbed discussion, and the Blonde Lady actress realized in the middle of it how little sense it made. And so she launches into this unconvincing additional dialogue about how sometimes she hates herself for working at the shark lab as well. Very strange scene. They're getting close to the shark. You can tell because the annoying tracker beeping is becoming faster in cadence. But the shark is approaching the homeless man, and it doesn't seem like they're going to make it to the site of the altercation fast enough to save him. While the homeless man is being pursued by the shark, he asks a passerby for money, and the passerby responds, "Fuck you." Which I thought would be an unbelievably strange thing to say to a homeless man who was just panhandling. It's like, listen, you could just say no.
Right.
Like, fuck you. That would be a crazy,
it's a really
crazy
funny
aggression.
response. Yeah. Yeah. Generally just say, sorry, I don't have cash on me.
Right. Sorry. I can't. Sorry. But we see the homeless man is killed by the shark. We cut back to our heroes, Dr. Foster and Blonde Scientist Lady. They're approaching a little cabin in a field, and after they walk into the cabin, they find a lot of blood and a lot of loose body parts just kind of sitting around on the floor of the cabin. Looks super, super fake. This scene is interspersed with shots from the shark's vantage point, and via the shark's vantage point, it is revealed that it's kind of circling the cabin outside, waiting for them to come out. They move outside, they're tracking it really carefully using the little tracker, and Dr. Foster has this kind of sci-fi looking gun that I guess is some kind of a shark ray. The shark attacks them. It bites Blonde Scientist Lady on the side and Dr. Foster on, I think, like his calf, right? It only bruised her ribs. But apparently the bite on Dr. Foster's leg is pretty bad and needs to be bandaged.
Yeah.
Do you think that it would make sense if you were bitten by a shark to only have your ribs bruised? Like it didn't even break a rib, it just bruised her?
I think it like hit her. I think it like bumped into her.
Oh, it only hit her. Okay, it didn't bite her. Gotcha. I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
But I have a question for you, because
Okay.
yes, Dr. Foster and Blonde Scientist, they have special like shark ray guns to kill the land sharks. And I just, I have to ask, why do they need special guns to shoot and kill the shark? Do the physics of real guns not apply to a shark just because it's been bioengineered to walk on land or slither on land, shimmy on land? What does a shark do on land?
Probably shimmy. This is a trope as well in these kinds of films. Often there's something, it's poorly articulated in this film, but there's some MacGuffin-esque special thing about the creature that creates this like extremely artificially narrowed set of scenarios in which you
Right.
can actually hurt it. It's just to generate drama and tension, essentially.
Right. Because I was thinking to myself as we were watching this thing, if I was Dr. Foster, what I would do, or the boss lady who's in the computer monitor, what I would do is, spend a couple $1,000s, rent a helicopter and a pilot, buy a machine gun, and just like fly over that land shark and fucking unload into it. Just fill it with fucking lead, spray it with hot lead until it's Swiss cheese. And I think that would take care of the problem. And then you wouldn't get into these ridiculously contrived scenarios where you are within striking range of the land shark. You're like, why would you get
you
close
get
to
bonked.
it? Right. Then you get
Yeah.
bonked.
But I mean, so let's say they couldn't do that, because it would attract too much attention, right? I think that's a reasonable explanation. Why wouldn't
Yeah.
you get a rocket launcher
Yeah.
or some napalm? Like,
Yeah.
how about napalm? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like there are tools they could get relatively inexpensively that would still be somewhat inconspicuous that they could use. And so that's why they have to say that it needs to be killed by the ray gun, because otherwise
Right.
it's like, well, why didn't they just do
Well,
that?
sure. Because as I mentioned earlier, we already have some incredibly lethal conventional weapons of war. So you're right, rocket launcher from a distance, lure it into a trap. That could be a fun thing, like Jurassic Park style. Like you have to outwit
Yep.
it, lure it into a trap, blow it up with C4, capital punishment style. Throw a grenade at it. You could lob that, a Call of Duty style. That's a distance weapon. There are a lot of things you could do that would involve not even a regular gun or even the sci-fi ray guns that they use. Stand further back from it. Be 30 feet away from it and just fucking unload into it.
Well, maybe it's like a shotgun and it's only
Oh,
effective
yeah.
at close range. You couldn't shoot something with a shotgun from 30 feet away and reliably kill it.
And that is the sort of thing that if you or I were making a film, like we would read, the other person's script and we'd have those notes like, oh, you should have like a little dialogue when we're establishing the guns and like how they work. Like, oh, these only work at a short range. Otherwise the ray disperses too much. Like we have to get in close. And it sets up
Yeah.
stakes. It establishes stakes. You ever watch a movie before?
Yeah, I agree. I just, I don't think that we're really working with super high caliber creative talent here, and so I just don't know if that's the kind of analysis that you can expect from these folks. But I do agree.
Yeah.
So after blonde scientist lady bandages Dr. Foster's leg, we see the shark chase them into the cabin. And as we're progressing, something that I'll observe kind of from a pattern perspective is we're getting longer and longer and more focused shots of the paper mache shark, which is fun. I will say the shark looks quite bad, so it doesn't benefit from being shown to viewers more, which is a tough problem to have when you're making a film like this. But we see them actually in an altercation with the shark, and they bop it in the nose with a wrench and get it to flee.
Bop it. Twist it.
We see Dr. Foster wrap blonde scientist lady's bruised rib with a bandage for some reason. I don't think you do that for a bruised rib. I don't really know. Like, what would a bandage do in this situation? But I'm not a doctor. If you're a doctor, write into mike@ourherodeniro.com and let us know if this makes sense. She looks at Dr. Foster's leg, and his cut from the shark is all black and gross looking. And as she's looking, the shark comes in and attacks them, and they get into some kind of tete-a-tete that doesn't really make any sense just because the cinematography is so bad. And somehow they end up accidentally shooting a pile of rocks with the shark ray gun, thinking that it was the shark. They remark that they think the shark has gone into a body of water, and they shoot this body of water a bunch with their guns. This is one of my favorite shots of the film. And as they're shooting the body of water with their guns, we see this kind of repeated shot, I think shown like 3 times, of the exact same 3 spurts of water coming up out of the body of water, like it's where it's being hit with whatever projectiles are coming from their guns. The shark comes up out of the water and they shoot it and it explodes. Dr. Foster seems to be in quite a bit of pain from the drugs he was doing and from the festering shark bite on his leg. But they can't stop and talk about that because they have to go and find the 3rd shark. Mike, we're coming real close to the end of this recap here. Do you have any more shark facts for us?
I have a ton of them.
Oh, okay. Well, let's get one more shark fact, and then I'll finish the recap, and we can go into our final thoughts.
Yeah, I'll fucking do what I want vis-a-vis my shark facts. Thank you very much. Here's a good one. Hammerheads can detect prey buried under sand. Their electrosense helps them find hidden animals like stingrays. I think that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. I agree.
I like hammerhead sharks. Those are my favorite sharks growing up because of their fun
I don't think
heads.
I have a favorite shark, really.
Great white's too basic of a choice, you know? Like, nah, got to get a little more interesting with it. What's the distinguished gentleman's favorite shark? Hammerhead.
Yeah, I mean, it is cool how their head looks like a hammer. That is nice.
Yeah, you know, you haven't said your completely incorrect prediction yet, and I feel like we kind of like passed that point where you were talking about it in the film when we were watching.
It's gonna come up right now.
Okay.
This is the point. The twist. The quote-unquote twist is about to be revealed, at which point I will say, yes.
Okay.
So, Dr. Foster cryptically tells blonde scientist lady the next phase of the experiment is coming, but he's super coy about it, and it's quite obvious to us as viewers now that what it is that he's turning into a shark, and he's going to be the 3rd shark that she needs to hunt. So my prediction was that they were going to become lovers, but that he was going to turn into a shark and she was going to have to kill him in like a tragic twist after they learn to love each other. And obviously I was correct about him turning into a shark, but I was not correct about them becoming lovers. And like, I'm sorry, spoiler alert, but she is going to kill him, obviously. So, you know, one out of 2.
I mean, you were really emphasizing they're going to end up as a romantic couple a lot more than he's going to transform into a shark.
It just really seems like they would, wouldn't it? Narratively?
Listen, man, we had very different predictions because I emphatically denied that. I said, no, they are not. I do not think that's what's going to happen. And I, being an intellectual, being the Frasier of this podcast, was absolutely correct. I was vindicated. But yes, I think that if you were making an actual like feature-length film that was 90 plus minutes long and you wanted to think about what would make, you know, this coupling of this odd couple pair more interesting, you would have them get to know each other, their backstories, their motivations for working on this project at this company, and slowly warm up to each other, get over their differences. But then, yes, Dr. Foster, he's consumed by his, I don't even know what you'd call it, shark lust, his shark rage. Yeah. And then that would lead to a tragic and emotional ending, which is not what we get.
No, definitely not. Here's the ending we are going to get. The tracker is leading her to the shark. She's walking with Dr. Foster, and she bumps into him, just kind of standing, looking off into the middle distance at the top of a hill in the woods. And the tracker is going fucking nutso, like it's beeping real fast. And we know as viewers that the reason why it's beeping so fast is because he's the shark, but she's a little slow on the uptake here. It takes a couple exchanges for her to realize. And I really enjoyed the way he reveals himself as the shark. He like slams the bottom of his fists into his chest and says, "I'm the shark," but his finger's not extending. Like you would never do that to say it's me. He just like punches himself in the chest for some reason. It's really odd. Like, yeah. So he tells her that he's the shark and explains the plan. And the plan is essentially this next phase where humans with human intelligence are going to be genetically fused with the land sharks so that they have the physicality and raw power of a shark that can move on land with the intelligence and sanguine nature of Dr. Foster himself. And we see him turn into the crazy, ugly shark man he saw in his nightmare looking in the mirror in the bathroom earlier in the film, and she kills him. And as he dies, he says there are other experiments that they haven't managed to decommission. And we see a really bad animation of a giant shark jumping out of the water and scaring people on a boardwalk. The end.
Yeah, it is.
You want to share another shark fact before we talk about our final thoughts?
Yeah, I think one last shark fact will be nice. Oh, this is fun. I didn't know this. Most sharks are not giant apex monsters. NOAA says there are over 500 shark species, and most are under 3 feet long. So I think that's pretty fun.
That is fun. Yeah, I agree. Well, that being said, great shark facts. Thanks, Mike. What did you think of Landshark?
Yeah, I think there's no hiding it. I thought this was a bad movie. So the question really then becomes, how bad? You know, we use the Letterboxd scale here. That is half star on the bottom end up to 5 stars on the top end. And the lowest rating I've ever given a film on the podcast so far has been 1 star. That's for, like Samsung, some of those really aimless, boring early 1970s pictures in which Robert De Niro barely features. And relatively recently, I gave The War with Grandpa 1.5 out of 5. Definitely a bad movie. Not one that I thought was good in really any way, shape, or form. But I think that it's important to distinguish that this is a different category of bad. You know, obviously, we've talked a lot about schlock during our conversation in this longer than expected episode. It really is a Shark Week spectacular. The thing here is, when it comes to the worst De Niro movies, there's usually still some baseline of professional filmmaking. Like there are real actors, there's coverage, there's lighting, there's recognizable craft. And Landshark isn't bad in the Hollywood sense. It's pure no budget schlock. And that is just not a lane that I personally get a lot from. I don't really enjoy watching bad movies as a genre. And I watch Best of the Worst occasionally. I listen to the Flophouse podcast, which I really enjoy. I understand the appeal of bad movie nights. Like I'm open to having some bad movie nights, whatever. That sounds A-okay as a social experience. And I understand why, Red Letter Media can make this stuff entertaining, like their commentary, their analysis. But on my own, I never seek out movies that are primarily fun because they're incompetent. And I just feel like I've thought about this in regards to Red Letter Media because so much of the content they put out nowadays is just best of the worst, where they'll watch like 3 schlock movies and then just talk about them for an hour. I feel like there has to be something corrosive when your primary, I'm not saying everyone who watches this movie is like this, but if like for the sorts of people, the primary type of film they watch is schlock, I feel like that can't be good for you. If like most of the media you're taking in is bad. It's just like unambiguously bad. And there's nothing interesting to glean from it. I don't know. Like there's nothing to be gained from watching this outside of like let's laugh at how bad the production quality and like everything around it is. But I don't think it's interesting enough in its schlocky way to justify like the experience. It's not The Room. Like you could have a really fun like watch party around The Room. That's why it, is still going on in the theatrical circuit. I mentioned this earlier in the recap, but the premise here creates a problem that the movie cannot solve. Like a shark in water, you can hide with editing, splashing, POV shots, darkness. But a land shark, a lot of this movie takes place in daytime in Los Angeles. It has to be seen. So it's just there in a field in broad daylight. So the shark isn't convincing. There's no gore because they don't have the budget for those effects. The staging isn't convincing. And the whole premise just collapses almost immediately. Like I found the incompetence funny, but only briefly. And even though it's only 74 minutes long, it feels long because there's so little going on. It's just these 2 characters walking around or traveling around Los Angeles County trying to hunt 3 sharks. And once the novelty passed, I was mostly bored, honestly. Like, is this a parody? Is it an homage? Is it sincere shark horror? Or is it just a cheap cash-in on the shark movie gimmick? I don't know. Like, even if it's supposed to be bad on purpose, I think it still needs timing, jokes, rhythm, and it really doesn't have any of those things. I don't want to be super, I'm going to be super hard on Mark Polonia, but I understand, I appreciate that making a feature film at any budget is difficult. Like it is a massive undertaking. There are a lot of logistics involved. There's so much involved in that process that I respect that they actually, like, this group of people came together and made a film, like a finished product that we were able to watch and dissect and analyze. I think that is impressive in itself, but effort is not the same thing as value, and completion isn't the same thing as craft. So I am going to land on my first ever half-star rating in this podcast's history for Landshark. I think that a 1-star movie can still be fascinating or well-produced or have a thesis, but Landshark is just pretty inert. Like, the funniest thing about it is its title and the premise, but there's not enough personality here for it to rise above its sort of schlocky baseline. And so, yeah, I have to hit it with my lowest rating. Hey, I'm glad we watched it. It was an interesting exercise for the podcast, but it does not inspire me to want to watch more films like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sure. Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done. What about you, Mike? What did you think of Landshark?
I don't know what I really have to add beyond what you said. I mean, I guess the only thing I would add is, right, having seen, like I said, 15 to 20 of this kind of film, I think this is a particularly bad one, right? Like, this is not Killer Clowns from Outer Space. If you are familiar with, like, some of the, like, films from the schlock genre that have a cult following because there is something good about them, this is operating on a whole other level from, like, something like Killer Clowns, and this is really quite bad, even as a part of this subgenre of film. I don't really know what else to say. I mean, it's a really, really bad movie. I don't give half stars. That's not a score that's available to me, either in the podcast or in my life. But I would give this a half star if it were available to me. But with that caveat in mind, I am going to have to award it 1 star.
It is available to you.
No, it's not. That's the discipline, Mike.
Sure, whatever. I'll take a 1 star. Friend of the pod, wife of the pod, Caroline, infamously gave this a 1.5, higher than her ratings of Samsung and The War with Grandpa, which I think is pretty crazy. I don't know what's redeeming here in any way, shape, or form.
But we love to get a good opportunity to talk about Caroline's nonsensical scoring rubric for films on letterboxd.com/badcrease. So, maybe she was just giving us a little gift for this recording session.
Oh, thank you, Caroline. I appreciate it.
Do you have anything that you would recommend in lieu of Landshark?
Yeah, sure. This is our recommendation segment, and I thought about this long and hard, and I came up with one that I really like, as I always do, really. I'm always producing high-quality recommendations, and you can check them out at letterboxd.com/Mike back at you. So after Landshark, I did not want to recommend another bad movie or another schlock movie, because that's not my bag, baby, as Austin Powers would say. So instead, I'm going to recommend a good movie about the making of a schlock or exploitation classic. So I'm going to recommend the 2019 Craig Brewer film, Dolomite Is My Name, starring Eddie Murphy. You ever hear of this movie?
Never have.
It's good. You're going to like it if you ever watch it. I don't know. It's iffy with you watching my recommendations. But it stars Eddie Murphy as Rudy Ray Moore, the comedian performer who created the Dolomite persona and turned it into a 1975 blaxploitation film. It has an ensemble cast featuring Wesley Snipes, Keegan-Michael Key, Mike Epps, Craig Robinson, Titus Burgess, and Cody Smith-McPhee. And it was pretty well received. It has a 76 Metascore and had Golden Globe nominations for Best Motion Picture and Best Actor for Murphy. I gave it a strong 3.5 on Letterboxd when I watched it a few years ago. It's a very solid movie. It's very entertaining. It's heartwarming. There's a sense of community. It's fun seeing Eddie Murphy, cursing, and he's just so charismatic. He really, we missed him for a while, but he's back, and this is a really nice movie. I think that both movies, Dolomite Is My Name and Landshark, touch on low budget filmmaking and people working outside of the normal studio system. But Dolomite Is My Name shows what Landshark was missing for me, which is personality and purpose and a reason to exist, because cheapness alone, at least to me, is not charming, and competence alone isn't interesting. There has to be some sort of spark behind it. And I just think that it is a warm, funny, occasionally explicit movie in terms of its language. But I think that anyone listening would enjoy watching it. It's just a pleasant hour and a half or so. Dolomite is my name. What about you, Mike? What's your recommendation this week? Is it Thanksgiving?
That sounds really nice, Mike. That is a really nice recommendation. Yes, my recommendation this week is Thanksgiving. And I thought about not logging on Letterboxd until after we did this recording, so that you wouldn't get the pleasure of saying that. But I thought, you know what? Sometimes he looks at what I watch, sometimes he doesn't look at what I watch, and if he happens to see this one, then God bless him. He'll get to feel the joy of correctly predicting a recommendation. I couldn't stop thinking about Thanksgiving while we were watching this film. I hadn't seen it in probably at least 15 years. I don't remember exactly when I watched it. I think it was like maybe toward the end of when I was in college or maybe immediately after. But Thanksgiving is kind of very spiritually and technically, and I think to a certain extent thematically linked to Landshark. But it has one crucial difference from it, which is that it's in on the joke, whereas it often does not feel like Landshark is in on the joke. But structurally, these are very similar films. Thanksgiving is about a killer turkey who was risen essentially as an intergenerational curse by Native Americans who were slaughtered during the kind of era of the creation of Thanksgiving. And it's just really vulgar and really gory and really disgusting, and has a lot of jokes that you could not make in the post-Me Too era. But it is from the pre-Me Too era. The turkey is a much better poorly made prop than the shark is. You get to see it a lot more. The turkey talks, and so it has a characterization that isn't always, or maybe from someone's perspective, even ever funny. But at least it lends a certain je ne sais quoi to the experience of watching the film. And as I said, you can definitely tell that the creative folks are in on the joke. Some of the bad acting is intentional. They know the turkey is silly. Like it really works so much better when you can see that from the vantage point of the creative folks, there may have been some self-aware, like we're in on it sort of dimension to the presentation. And I laughed a couple times while I was watching it. It's definitely a much more enjoyable bad movie watch than Landshark. That being said, I generally agree that as a social experience is the only way to watch this kind of film, which is why I think Best of the Worst that Red Letter Media does has worked well, because you feel like you're doing it with the Red Letter Media guys. And it's why I think the most successful form of schlock viewing is MST3K, where it feels like a social experience even if you're watching it alone, because you're hearing the commentary by the MST3K characters.
Yeah.
So I would watch it with a friend if you're going to watch it, Mike. I don't think you want to watch it alone. I don't think you're going to have a good time. But that's my recommendation. 2009's Thanksgiving.
You know how difficult it is for me to set up movie viewings with friends? You think I'm going to burn one on fucking Thanksgiving?
Yeah, that would be crazy. Yeah, I agree.
I don't know about that, but I will certainly watch it this October, this spooky season.
Oh yeah, it would be a funny one to watch during your spooky season month. Yeah, that's great. Just a reminder for everybody that next week will be a special episode. It will be our 80th episode spectacular, and you'll have to see next week what it is that we're going to be doing.
How exciting.
Very exciting indeed. All right. And with that, that has been our very special Shark Week spectacular of Our Hero De Niro discussing Landshark. I would like to thank you, Mike, my loyal co-host, for being here with me week in and week out. And I would like to thank each of you, loyal citizens of De Niro Nation, for joining us, especially you, Zoe, for continuing to come back even after I embarrassed myself so thoroughly last year with the Shark Tale episode, and for the excellent recommendation for today's film. I really hope you enjoyed it, because we talked about it for a really long time.
I hope all the citizens of De Niro Nation enjoyed it, and let us know your thoughts by emailing us. I want to hear from everyone, not just Zoe.
That's true. I want to get an email from literally everyone who listened to this episode, and we see a count. On the dashboard, we can see how many people listen to it. If we don't get that many emails from you guys, there's going to be a reckoning. All right,
we're going to strap C4 to ourselves and blow ourselves up, capital punishment style.
I'm going to capital punish myself. Yeah, so as Mike said, I would invite you to write us about literally anything at mike@ourherodeniro.com and to peruse all of our links and some information about the show and a list of our episodes at ourherodeniro.com. You can find Mike and I on Letterboxd. He's Mike Back At You, and I'm Mike the Fab. Oh, and I should say I got a little thrown off earlier. Got to thank friend of the pod, wife of the pod, Caroline, a.k.a. Bad Cree, for our beautiful podcast art. And I would invite you to please subscribe and rate us 5 stars on your podcast app of choice. We really, really need this. And we hope you will join us next week for our 80th episode spectacular.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.